Mark Zuckerberg is set to testify at the committees of both the House and Senate this week. So Phil Matier and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, what advice would he give Mark Zuckerberg?
He should be himself, period. He should not attempt at all to be interested from a political standpoint. He should literally be teaching a group of people who have no idea what the internet is really about, how it operates, and who controls it or who doesn't. He should just simply lay it out, and he should make sure he's wearing a T-shirt with a grease spot.
You know, in times past when we've had the general counsel of Facebook, for example, testify, they seem a little unprepared. They would get basic questions about why didn't it occur to you that ads paid with rubles coming from Russia might be a thing? And they seem to say, well, I don't know, I'm just the GC. So I hope that he's practicing, that he's working with somebody to throw questions at him like the ones he's going to get, so it can be meaningful.
Okay, speaking of questions, when he appears in front of the Senate, he is going to be in front of U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein from San Francisco/Silicon Valley and U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, the prosecutor formerly of San Francisco, but who also is a personal friend of his, correct?
That is correct.
So where does that put them?
They will be able, I think, to elevate the level of understanding of what Facebook is all about.
Are you saying they're going to roll for him?
No, they're not going to roll, but they're going to say, if I post, what am I posting? What's the content of what I post?
We're talking about one of the biggest communicating systems in the world, Facebook. We're talking about a huge job factory for the Northern California. Do you think this is going to be a confrontation with the Senate and the House, or is this going to be an accommodating thing? Let us smile and work past this.
I think it's going to be an occasion for Mark Zuckerberg to elevate the level of understanding and appreciation of the instrument called Facebook. That's how they're going to handle it.
Well, at the same time, I think his job is going to be to convince those people why he should not be regulated. Understand, like right now, the presumption is we're ready to go after you guys. You clearly have demonstrated you cannot regulate yourselves.
That's a good point.
We should do this for you. He's got to make the case why that's not necessary.
And there's already a move afoot in California to regulate them via the ballot. Mayor Brown, final question. When he talks, what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because they're going to be so overmatched. He's so superior to with reference to knowledge and technique. They are going to they need somebody to interpret his language, let alone tell him what to do.
He may be looking to some of those summer interns to explain the ins and outs of how Facebook works.
So how do you think he will ultimately be successful in convincing lawmakers we're going to do a good job of regulating ourselves?
I think he will probably be successful. They don't seem to be able to agree on much, and so the idea that there's going to be some sweeping legislation that's going to regulate this space is a big lift. It's going to take a real, probably another series of breaches before Congress gets together and decides to do this. Sources say that Donald Trump has been meeting with evangelical leaders to try and calm the waters. So Phil Matier and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, what exactly is the president's relationship with evangelicals?
It's kind of interesting. All of a sudden, he's having to explain to his natural base about his conduct. He has not had to do that since the first day he announced. All of the allegations about him and what have you, it's been like running water off a duck's back. All of a sudden, however, one or two of them may not want to be investigated themselves. So they kind of want to have him tell them, what is it about the attack? Is it Hillary's friends conspiring to discredit you? And he will make the case, and it will be convincing.
Well, they're very happy with his Supreme Court nomination, for example, and what he's doing at with other court appointees. At the same time, what we've seen in places like Alabama is that evangelicals aren't as enthusiastic for Republican candidates. They're not turning out. That has been a problem. They're not voting Democrat, but they're not turning out necessarily to vote for the Republicans. It's what we saw in Alabama, and I think that they're afraid heading into these new midterms that unless they do something, there's going to be that enthusiasm drop is going to remain.
Keep in mind, they really started all of this when they raised the bar for loyalty purpose, for performance purposes, through what was called at that time, I don't recall the name of how they generated opposition to standard Republicans who were running for public office. They had them lined up one after another. They're not going to change that, believe me. And that's what we Democrats really hope.
Mayor Brown.
So it really is all about the midterms. And as much as we hear people gripe about gridlock, it does seem that the population in general is a little bit uneasy about one-party rule.
That is true. I mean, especially in places like California, you go, wait a minute, is it a good idea to have one party in control of all branches, and nationally as well? I think one concern for people in those Midwestern states is whether or not these Chinese tariffs go into effect at or around that election day, and that if there's and plus if there's any evangelical drop off, is a big problem for Republicans.